The moment I boarded the train, a faint scent of wood drifted through the air. It felt like stepping into an old study, lined from wall to wall with well-worn books. With a gentle chugging sound, the train began to move, gliding slowly away from the platform. I settled into a compartment all to myself and drew the warm blanket beside me over my knees. The seat was upholstered in muted gray velvet, soft enough to sink into. As soon as I leaned back, a delicate vibration hummed through the seat and into my body, bringing with it a quiet sense of calm. The inside of the train was filled with a soft amber glow. The light reflected off the metal frames, giving the whole car a gentle warmth. Between the seats were blankets, cushions, and small reading lamps, and the air was kept at just the right temperature, neither too hot nor too cold. The car was full of quiet sounds, the steady rhythm of wheels on rails, the faint clink of metal, and every so often, the barely audible breath of air from the vents. All of it blended together into something peaceful. Outside the window, rain was falling in silence. Droplets slid slowly down the glass, blurring the lights beyond into soft, wavering shapes. I leaned forward in my seat and rested my forehead lightly against the window. The glass was cool in a pleasant way. The wind brushing past the train made a steady, soothing sound, and the gentle sway of the car felt almost like a cradle. If I simply gave myself over to the motion, it felt as though time had stopped. Beyond the glass, the scenery passed by as blurred silhouettes. The train was making its way through a quiet countryside village. Through the rain on the window, I could just make out the outline of a small town. No weathered rooftops, trees standing still in the rain, and the occasional glow of a street lamp. The streetlights shone with a warm orange hue, spreading across the wet road until the reflections looked like small pools of light. A stone wall ran slowly alongside the tracks, and below it, damp grass and wildflowers bowed their heads. I watched the passing scenery for a long while. Then I noticed the conductor walking slowly down the aisle from the front of the train. He wore a dark gray uniform with polished buttons, and in one hand he carried a small ticket punch. His steps fell in a steady rhythm. For a moment, the clean scent of laundry soap lingered as he passed. "May I see your ticket, please?" he asked, approaching one of the passengers. The passenger hurriedly searched through a coat pocket, then pulled out a paper ticket and handed it to him. The conductor took it lightly and pressed the punch against it. There was a small click as a neat hole appeared in the ticket. A tiny scrap of paper slipped free and drifted to the floor. "Thank you." The conductor smiled and moved on to the next passenger. While he checked each ticket in turn, the train began to pick up speed. Outside the window, the last traces of the village slipped away, and wide open fields stretched out in their place. Leaning back into the seat, I felt the train's steady rocking settle into my body. The conductor disappeared quietly into the rear car, and the train returned to its hush of small, gentle sounds. I could faintly hear rain tapping against the roof. Someone took an apple from their bag and bit into it slowly. The crisp sound rang clearly through the car, and a light fruity scent spread through the air. It reminded me of a quiet afternoon in a faraway orchard. From another car, I could hear people speaking in low voices. They sounded like old friends sharing secrets. Beside me, a child slept with their face tucked into a small blanket, breathing softly as if lost in a dream. The sight made my heart feel a little softer. A few seats ahead, a young boy was whispering and laughing with his father. "Dad, why is that mountain flat on top instead of pointy?" the child asked, pointing eagerly out the window. Long ago, a giant lived on that mountain," his father said with a playful smile. They say he used the mountaintop as his pillow whenever he lay down to rest. Maybe that's why it became flat. Really? Then where did the giant go? Who knows? Maybe he moved to another mountain. Giants travel too, you know? The child's laughter spread through the train, and the little conversation rippled through the car like a gentle wave. An elderly couple nearby turned toward the sound and smiled. The train continued along a quiet mountain path. Outside the window, the night had grown deeper, and stars were beginning to appear one by one. The sky looked as though it had been brushed with deep blue ink, and the stars shimmered within it like tiny voices whispering from far away. Whenever the train passed between tall trees, the starlight seemed to catch on the branches and flicker. Each time, the wind outside the window made a low, resonant sound, as if it were echoing through the night. In the dark window, I could see my own reflection. In the dim light, the scenery beyond the glass overlapped with my reflected face, making it feel as though two worlds were crossing over each other. That strange feeling settled my heart. It gave me a quiet, mysterious comfort, as if I had become part of something vast and natural. The train was still moving toward its destination, but the destination itself no longer felt very important. Every moment inside the train had become its own kind of journey. The scenery outside, the small sounds within the car, and all the sensations around me came together to create a piece. So still, it felt as though time had paused. After a while, the train stopped at a small station. In front of it stood an old street lamp, glowing softly as it wrapped the platform in a gentle light. In that glow, an elderly man boarded the train with a small travel bag in his hand. He removed his hat and sat down quietly. Something about him suggested that he carried many years of stories with him. The old man set his worn travel bag beside his seat. His hand moved slowly over its handle as he looked out at the passing scenery. For a long time, he stared through the window without blinking. Trees swaying in the wind, telephone poles passing by, village lights twinkling in the distance. He watched it all in silence, as if he were turning the pages of an old book of memories. Now and then, he lifted one hand and gently brushed it over the bag on his lap. His hand was rough, but each slow movement held a careful tenderness. It seemed as though the bag might be filled with stories, letters, old photographs, or perhaps a note meant for someplace far away. But he never opened it. He simply rested his hand on top. As the train gathered speed, the sound of the wind grew stronger. Soon, a river came into view. A pale mist drifted over the water, shimmering like silver waves. The train followed the river for a while, then began to cross a large bridge. As it moved onto the bridge, the sound of the water below became clearer. The river flowed deep and heavy, and the air against the window carried the scent of the late night. The calm water held the dark color of the sky. Small ripples moved across its surface with the wind. Whenever the train lights passed over the river, their glow trembled faintly across the water. Along the river bank, a thin layer of mist had settled. It slowly wrapped itself over the surface of the water, soft and quiet, like a blanket drawn over someone's knees. The train gradually reached the far end of the bridge. Leaning against the window and watching the river recede into the distance, I suddenly felt as though my heart, too, were drifting far away, as though it was all right to keep moving, just as I was. Strangely enough, the thought felt warm. Near the end of the car, an attendant was pushing a cart down the aisle. Snacks and drinks were neatly arranged on top. In a calm voice, she asked, "Would anyone like coffee or tea?" A middle-aged man raised his hand with a gentle smile. "A cup of warm tea, please." The attendant took out a cup and poured the tea. Steam rose from it, and soon a faint herbal fragrance spread through the air. "Please enjoy it while it's warm." The man nodded and received the cup with both hands. The attendant pushed the cart with a quiet, steady rhythm. Its wheels made a soft sound against the floor, blending with the rain on the window like a low, soothing melody. Eventually, the cart came to a gentle stop near the front of the car. Everything on it was neatly arranged. Small bottles of juice, sealed packets of crackers and nuts, softly colored teacups, and polished stainless steel pots. Beside the cups were small cards, each carefully handwritten with a name: chamomile, lemon balm, and peppermint. The handwriting was round and gentle, as though someone had written each word slowly and with care. A delicate herbal scent drifted from the cart. It moved through the air of the train, as if slowly soaking into it. Because it was not too strong, it seemed to linger even longer, and before I knew it, the fragrance had begun to feel familiar. The attendant quietly set down a cup of warm herbal tea. "Please enjoy it while it's warm." Her voice was neither high nor low, only soft. The simple words spread outward like the warmth of the cup itself, reaching even the fingertips of the person who received it. She did not look too long, and she did not say more than she needed to. Yet in that brief moment, her eyes were warm, and there was something strangely reassuring about her. What she left behind felt less like words and more like a lingering fragrance. I brought the cup lightly to my lips. The scent of lemon balm rose gently, and as the warm steam brushed my face, the temperature and fragrance of that moment seemed to loosen my whole body. I drank the herbal tea slowly, feeling its warmth spread from my mouth through the rest of me. As the train rocked softly, small conversations drifted in from other seats. They were not loud or lively, but each carried a quiet comfort and peace. By one window, a grandmother and her granddaughter were speaking in soft voices. The granddaughter looked outside, took a deep breath, and asked, "Grandma, why are we going so far away?" I wonder. Maybe we're just going out to get some fresh air," the grandmother answered with a gentle smile. "Just to get some fresh air?" the granddaughter asked again, tilting her head. "Yes. Sometimes it's good to go far away. When you go far away, you start noticing things you usually miss." "Like what?" The grandmother pointed to the field outside the window. "For example, that field. Have you ever thought about how many flowers might be hidden in a place that wide?" I don't think I ever have," the granddaughter answered seriously, gazing out the window. "That's exactly it. Traveling means going to see the things you've never thought to look for." The grandmother's voice was low and warm. The granddaughter listened, then smiled a little and nodded. Soon, the train entered the forest again. This time, a few faint fireflies appeared between the leaves. Their tiny lights seemed to follow the train for a moment before vanishing into the depths of the woods. Their glow lingered in my eyes, like stars flickering inside a memory. Inside the train, people leaned slightly toward the windows to watch them. For a moment, everyone seemed silently caught in the magic of the scene. As time passed, the train slowly began to lose speed. We seemed to be nearing our destination. Outside the window, the lights of a small village came into view. They glowed warmly in the darkness, like campfires inviting travelers home. As we passed the village, the sound of a dog barking somewhere in the distance and a faint song drifting through the night blended with the rhythm of the train. Together, they completed the quiet peace of the evening. As we approached the final station, the conductor walked through the train once more, speaking gently to the passengers. "We'll be arriving soon," he said with a quiet smile. There was a warmth in his expression, like the close of a long, tiring day. The passengers began to gather their bags and pull on their thick coats, preparing to leave in silence. When the train finally came to a stop, the doors opened, and fresh night air flowed into the car. It was cold, but clear and refreshing. Beyond the window, the village was filled with small lights, each one seeming to hold a story of its own. One by one, the passengers stepped off the train and made their way toward the village. Then the train closed its doors again and quietly departed. The train had now left that place behind and begun another journey. Outside the window, endless scenery continued to unfold, and the train's quiet rocking remained in my heart like a small whisper. Wherever it was headed, it seemed this train would always keep running along the tracks, carrying gentle stories within it.